Well, depending on where you are, it is windy. Here we go. All right. And you can tell me when everyone's in, please, Tina. Thank you. And we'll get started.
Yes, we are having everyone in now, and there are many people coming in as we speak.
Fabulous. Thank you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll just wait. Should we wait a couple more seconds? Here we go. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we embrace World Bread Day. We'll be showcasing a few different types of breads, a little bit of a variety. So we're going to show some roti. We've got Catherine showing the roti. We have Sharon showing the focaccia, Kirsty doing the pumpkin scrolls. We have Margaret showing some olive bread rolls. Who have I missed? We've got Evie showing us a banana bread. I'll be making a milk bread. I think that's all of us. So yeah, we'll be sharing a few tips and tricks along the way, of course. So yeah, enjoy. Feel free to pop in the chat any questions that you may have as well. And we'll, between, all of us, we'll all sort of have a look at, and Tina will be helping us. Thank you, Tina, for helping us on the chat. So we can... Sure. And we'll cross over now to Kirsty, who is going to start us off today with the pumpkin scrolls.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Yes, I'm going to show you some pumpkin scrolls. Now, don't be deceived by the name of these because, sorry, am I spotlighted, Tina, so that everybody can see me? If you're on gallery view, you may want to jump to speaker view. Otherwise, do you want me to spotlight myself? How are you going, Tina? Can you find me? There's a lot of people to... There we go. Right, for everyone. Did that work?
Yep. You're on.
Too big. All right then. Yeah, so I'm going to be showing you, they're actually savoury scrolls, although I've done some as sweet scrolls as well, but they have a pumpkin, have some pumpkin in the dough, but don't be deceived by that. You actually can't taste the pumpkin. My kids are not pumpkin fans, but they really love these. Now, we will be sending out the recipes after the class, so don't stress about quantities and times and everything. This one is on the recipe community, not on Cookie Do. So we thought we'd start with a manual recipe for you. So starting off, my bowl is a little bit wet because I've already made a batch earlier. So in this recipe, you start off actually by steaming some pumpkin. So I've pre-done that because it's a bit like watching paint dry to watch some pumpkin being steamed. So the pumpkin was just in my basket. Oh, I had some water in here. I've steamed my pumpkin beautifully, tipped out the water, so I've now got an empty bowl. And now we're going to put our beautifully steamed pumpkin back in here, and that's going to get incorporated into the dough. So nice soft pieces of pumpkin. You can use some leftover roast pumpkin from, a roast the night before, or steamed pumpkin left over from dinner. So that was 350 grams of steamed pumpkin. And then we're going to add in our warm water. Now, if it's not warm, you can warm it up in the Thermomix, of course, but I've actually used the leftover steaming water, so it's still slightly warm. So I'm going to pop that in there. 280 grams of the water. Oh, is my jug big enough? Oh, there we go. 280 grams of our nice warm water, and then where's my teaspoon? Hiding in amongst everything here. And the yeast. So a couple of teaspoons of yeast. It is quite a big batch of dough, so I'm actually going to pop in 2.5 to 3 teaspoons of yeast. Just going to mix all of that together just to sort of mash the pumpkin. Just for a couple of seconds there.
I think it's very resourceful that that Kirsty is using the leftover steaming water. I think that's a great alternative to use up everything. So wonderful job.
The only thing to be careful of with that is if you've literally just steamed it, your water's going to be very hot. So you don't want to be adding your yeast into the water if it's anything more than 40 degrees, because otherwise you're going to kill your yeast and then your bread won't rise. But because I did this at 3 o'clock, I've just got, you know, my nice warm water, my yeast, my pumpkin was still slightly warm as well. So that's all together in there now. So then you're going to add your flour. And again, we'll send you out the recipe. You'll have all of these quantities. Oh, can I do this without getting it everywhere? And Murphy's Law when you're on camera. So the flour, the salt. So from here, it's pretty much a standard dough recipe. And you could just use your regular old, you know, pizza recipe. There are plenty of scroll recipes on Cookie Do and on the recipe community. If you want, you can add a little bit of sugar as well. It's clearly been a while since we've had any guests who drink sugar in their, have sugar in their coffee, because my sugar's gone hard. There we go. The sugar will just help to activate your yeast. It's not strictly necessary. You'll see most recipes say it's optional. Now this one, different from other dough recipes because we're not adding any oil, because the pumpkin's going to make it nice and, can I use the word moist? It's not a good word. All right, so we're just going to mix that together just for a few seconds.
Kirsty, could you use some sweet potato instead? Could you use sweet potato? Could you use potato as well?
The only thing with using sweet potato is it's a bit more starchy, whereas the pumpkin is probably got a higher moisture content. So you might have to play around with the amount of flour. So that's just all mixed together. And now we're just going to pop that on to knead. And this one, because it is quite a big batch of dough, I'm going to pop that on for 4 minutes. And we're going to cross over to somebody else while that's kneading, and then come back to me. I'll show you then what we're going to do with the dough.
Okay. So now we are moving to Leah.
Yes, we're moving over to Catherine now, who is going to start preparing her roti. Yes.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find
Hi
it.
everyone. I hope you can hear me well. So today I'm going to make a roti. This dough is the recipe is on Cookie Do. So it's the good thing about it. It's you just literally follow the steps and you just put the ingredients. So I've got flour, 125 grams. So this recipe is only for 2, but you can also find the recipe for a bigger family. And 60 grams of water. I'll pre-weigh everything, so that should be pretty close. And then you've got oil, sunflower oil. Sure. And the last thing is just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So this recipe doesn't require yeast, and you don't need it. You don't need to wait too long for it to rise. So it's just going to take about a minute of kneading. So if you're in a, if you're running short of time, you want something like, it's like more like a flatbread. It's very easy and very quick to make. And you just need 1 minute to knead it, and then you just rest it for 10 minutes. And then you will then just pan fry it. You don't even need an oil if you're using a non-stick pan to actually pan fry.
So Catherine, would it be similar to a focaccia, or would it be similar to a pita bread?
Pita bread. Okay. Yeah, it's like a pita flatbread.
And roti, I believe, is Sanskrit for bread, if I'm not mistaken. It's it derives from, a lot of people would know the word roti in their favorite Indian shops. So
yes, Indian. I think
staple.
Yes, I'm from Indonesia. I think we also call it roti.
Yes, yeah.
So my dough is finished kneading. So it may look a bit funky when you first dip it up. So that's the dough. What you're going to do is just basically just transform it into a ball. Sorry, just
That's right.
Closer. So that.
Thanks, Catherine.
And then what you need to do here, you just transform it into a ball, and then you just, if you've got a Thermomix, this the good thing about it is basically you can just use this to rest it or even to proof your bowl without having to clean it up. So that's that will do it. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fold them. If you're making them and if you think you wanna put garlic, minced garlic or any herbs in it, feel free to actually do it. You can actually like add chopped spinach if you want to. That's basically as quick as that.
Catherine, there was a question in the chat whether you used what kind of flour you used. Did you use?
Yes, I just used a plain flour. Because you don't need to, because with bread flour is high protein, so you usually need to to knead it and then to help use yeast to actually help with rice. But this one's just your regular plain flour will do the job.
Thanks for that. Okay, so should we move on back to Kirsty again?
Is Kirsty ready? Are you ready, Kirsty?
You're spotlighted.
Oh, I'm already spotlighted. Excellent. All right. I was just thinking, I'm going to be showing you how to roll out the dough, so I might just lower my camera. So sorry for a second, you're all going to feel a little bit seasick. So as fun and games here with how many cookbooks to have the iPad on. Right, that shut off my head, but at least you can see what I'm doing on the bench here. Perfect timing. So that was 4 minutes. My dough has finished kneading. Now, I will just say here, when you are kneading, normally you wouldn't have your Thermomix so close to the edge of the bench. Certainly don't leave your Thermomix alone while it's kneading. It's the one time you don't want to leave your Thermomix, just because it can wobble a little bit if you've got a big ball of dough in there. There are shock absorbers in the feet of your Thermomix, so it is designed to kind of wobble a little bit, but the feet should stay stuck to the bench. Just in case, don't walk away while you're kneading. Okay, now where's my Thermomat? This is my very well-used Thermomat. They do go a little bit like this if you bake on them, just where I had some flour on it and it's just kind of browned up in the oven. It is clean, so don't freak out if your Thermomat goes like that. You'll see my other one in a second, which is still nice and new looking because I haven't baked on it. Okay, so here's our beautiful pumpkin dough, nice and warm. It's got a beautiful colour. Now, a tip with this particular recipe, normally you don't have to grease your Thermomat, but it is quite a sticky dough. So just have a little drizzle of olive oil, not flour in this case, olive oil works better on your Thermomat, just to stop it sticking. Sorry, I'm just going to, good quad workout. I'm just going to squat so you don't lose the top of my head. Okay, so when you're getting your dough out, that knob on the underside of your bowl is actually the other end of the blades. So just give that, it's a really big ball of dough here. Give it a bit of a shake, give that a twist because that's actually twisting the blades. If you can see that there, that's going to help your dough to drop out. You may need to pull the rest of it out like that. If there's some stuck under the blades, you can pop it back on your Thermomix and just give it a really quick spin, like, a second or two on speed 8 or 9, and that will flick the rest of it out. But most of it's come out, so I'm not going to bother today. Okay, so there's our ball of dough. Just going to work that into a ball, and then as with most doughs, you need to leave that to do a rise. So I've got one here that I've already allowed to prove. So just wrap it up in there. Now, because it is quite a big ball of dough, I want to show you how I like to rise this particular recipe. And that is, here's my setup. So I've got some boiling water, just a couple of centimetres in my thermo server, no lid on the thermo server so that the steam can come up through the bottom of the Verona. And you can see here's one I prepared earlier and it's risen beautifully. And I've actually already taken some of that out. Oh, it started to deflate now that I've touched it. That has already, I've already rolled some of that out because I wanted to show you some scrolls. So I like to do this one in the Verona because it contains it, because otherwise, when I've just wrapped it and put it on top of the thermo server with hot water, I've come back and it's grown out of the Thermomat. So that kind of contains some of the growth a bit more. So I'm just going to leave that one there and I will cook that one after the class. So here is the dough that I prepared earlier. And you can see, nice, clean, new Thermomat, which I've had maybe a year, but I haven't baked on this one. All right, and this is the new design, which you can get as a host reward with the concentric rings on it, which is fabulous when you're rolling out, pastry or something and it says it needs to be a certain size. Okay, so you can use a rolling pin if you want, or you can just push it out with your hands. Does anybody know the little trick to know when your dough has proven enough and is ready to cook with? I should have grabbed a glass of water to show you, but you just pinch off a little bit of your dough, pop it into a glass of warm water, and if it floats, it's ready to start working with. If it sinks to the bottom, you know that it needs to prove for a little bit longer. So there you go, that's a good tip. All right. Yeah. Sorry, I just only thought of it then. I should have had a glass of water ready to show you. And the other way that you can tell if your dough is not ready is if you roll it out and it keeps shrinking back towards the centre, the gluten strands haven't developed enough in it, and it needs to prove for a bit longer. So a couple of different tips there, but I can see that this is staying where I want it. So it is ready to go. So we're just going to roll that out to the size of the thermomat, and squatting down here, chopping off the top of my head. I'm going to show you how you can make some fillings. So just move that out of the way a little bit. Very handy to have a second bowl and blade set. Has everybody heard the news from their consultant yet? Not allowed to put anything on social media yet, but if you're in the market for a TM6, starting on Wednesday, you can get a second bowl and blade set valued at $375 for only $29. We're all a little bit excited because we've never, ever seen it this low before. Anyway, so talk to your consultant about that one. All right, so I'm going to make the filling for our scrolls here. Now, I've done some sweet ones, which I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to do a savoury filling for this one. So I've got in here already just a nice big handful, a couple of handfuls of baby spinach. And then I'm going to add some cubes of cheese. You can use whatever fillings you like. Now, a little tip if you're grating cheese in your Thermomix, no bigger than about 2 centimetres cubed. Don't try and do, big chunks because you can put too much strain on your blades. Okay, so if you had some leftover Christmas ham, you could chop that in chunks as well and throw that in. We're going to grate all of this together. I've actually got some diced ham already, so I'm not going to pop it in there with that. Okay, just back to my home screen. So I'm just going to grate that for a couple of seconds. Beautiful green cheese now.
Wonderful.
Now, depending on what you think you can get away with your kids, because, we all have fussy kids and sometimes it's the biggest kids who are the fussiest. I've got just some basic, tomato paste. You could use a pizza sauce if you're making your own pizza sauce and sneak even more veggies in, but I'm pretty happy with this recipe that they're getting a serve of pumpkin, and I'm also popping the spinach in with the cheese as well. They can't pick it out if it's been grated with the cheese. So just going to give that a good spread. If you haven't seen these palette knives in the mix shop, these are awesome for this sort of thing, whether you're doing a ganache or, regular icing. Spreading this sort of thing enables you to get it really nice and even. Well, if you took a bit more care than I have the time to today. Now, you could also put some in with, instead of the baby spinach, or as well as the baby spinach, some fresh basil, parsley, oregano, anything like that from your garden. The other thing that is a really nice filling is some pesto chicken and sun-dried tomatoes. You can pop that in and give that a chop as well. So, maybe if you've got a favourite filling, or you've just thought of something that would be nice on scrolls, maybe just pop it in the chat to share.
Yeah, pop it in the chat. What would you put in? One of the things that I noticed when we start, oh, beautiful. I'll let you go on with that, but I want to. That's amazing.
Go, Trina.
No, I just pointed out, I just noticed that when I first started doing baking, the whole idea of it being proving, and it looks so glorious when you proved it for an hour, and it says beat it down. And for a novice baker, they're like, why do you want to beat it down? And like, it's already grown, just put it in the oven. But that's the thing about baking. You actually need to knock it back down, form it back into the dough, and let it rise again.
Yeah. So in the case of scrolls, the second rise is going to be after we've formed them into the scrolls. And this is a step that you really don't want to rush. So sometimes, you know, if you're in a bit of a hurry, I would shorten the first proof if you didn't have time to prove both really well. But the second proof after you form them into the scrolls, I actually think is more critical than the first one if you're short on time. But ideally, you know, at least 20 minutes because you really want to get the nice puffiness and not have sort of chewy scrolls.
That's right.
I quickly stopped by a bakery while I was out this morning to see if they had some scrolls to do a bit of a cost comparison. Has anybody bought scrolls recently or happen to know the cost of scrolls at their local bakery? Just pop it in the chat if you happen to know. Sorry, I've just realised I haven't got my ham.
I can't remember. Anyone who's recently stepped into a Baker's Delight? Would it be $4.25 each?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
I'm just listening.
This, sorry, I'm just going to adjust that because, you know, keep chopping my head off. You can still see both.
No, we can see you great. Yeah.
Yeah, so look, you know, they're not a cheap item to buy, but they are super cheap to make. So I bought a half a butternut pumpkin, which has made 2 batches of the dough, and each of these batches of dough will make 15 to 20 scrolls depending on how big you make them. Like, you know, $2 worth of pumpkin, and I'm going to get 15, let's say 15 in each batch, 30 scrolls in total, $1 worth of flour, and then whatever, you know, herbs you've got in your garden. The cheese is probably the most expensive ingredient, to be honest. It's a no-brainer. Like, oh, what was that? $2.70 each at Pauline's Bakery. Yeah, you know, probably for close to $2.70, you're able to make a whole batch. So that is a fantastic cost saver. And the reason I mention that is that also starting on Wednesday, for anybody who's considering a Thermomix or maybe a second Thermomix, we've got 36 months interest-free starting. So that means that you can have a TM6 with a second bowl and blade set, if you like, in your kitchen for less than $18 a week. So if you start adding up some of the savings, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Somebody said to me the other day, go out for a cocktail and that's $18 on its own. You can whip up a whole batch of sorbet and add your favourite alcohol to that for, you know, less than $3 usually, depending on the seasonal fruit that you're using. All right, so what I'm doing now is rolling up the dough. I've been chatting about other things and not telling them what I'm doing. So I like to start and roll away from me. Other people prefer to roll towards them. Whatever works for you, there's no right or wrong way. So we're just rolling that up after you've popped your fillings on there. Did we get some interesting filling ideas in the chat, Tina?
Oh, no, not yet. I think everybody was so amazed by what you're doing. We're just fixed by what you're putting in. And I'm imagining the size of that. And since you said this is only half of it.
It's probably 2/3. I think I took
Two-thirds.
of the dough and I have some leftover custard from the other night.
And look at the amount of filling that you have in your scroll. It's so nourishing. You know, most of the time when we go to the bakery, there's just nothing but dough in it.
Yeah, so look at that. So that's the full length of the mat, which is what, 60 centimeters. And it's a good size roll. Now, a couple of tips about doing chopping milk. Sorry, I've taken up half the class. Oh, right, better hurry up. Never use a sharp knife on your thermomat. Always slide a board underneath before you start cutting them. You can use dental floss to kind of slide underneath and then cross it over. I was saying I went to buy some and they were mint flavoured and I thought, no, that's not a good combination. So put a board underneath if you're going to use a sharp knife to get a nice sort of clean cut. Never, ever, ever cut on your thermomat. They do not play well together. So you could use, I prefer a straight knife so that you get a nice cut edge. And then you're just going to pop them onto your baking tray. And while I'm doing this, I have the oven pre-warmed to 150, just to 50 degrees. Just while I'm doing this cutting. And then once I've finished cutting all of my scrolls, I turn the oven off, cover the scrolls with the thermomat, which now doesn't have anything, no dough wrapped in it, and then So the thermomat you're going to put over the top of your scrolls to stop them drying out, and pop them into the oven, which is warm because you've had it on 50 degrees, but turn it off. And that's where they're going to do that second proof, so that then in 20 minutes time, when you turn your oven on, they've doubled in size, they're nice and puffy, and then you're going to turn the oven on to actually bake them. Now, for the purposes of today, we don't have time really to do that second rise. So I'm just going to pop them into a completely cold oven and switch my oven on, and they'll get a bit of a proof as the oven warms up. So they won't be quite as nice as yours will be when you make them at home. All right, so I'm going to keep doing that and get those into the oven. I will just show you the ones that I made earlier, and you can see how puffy they've gone before we move on to the next presenter. So ideally, I'd leave them for a little bit longer, but these ones have got the leftover custard and raisins. All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Now we're on to Margaret, I believe.
No, we're actually going to cross over quickly to Catherine, because
Catherine,
Catherine
okay, here we go.
rising, and it only took 10 minutes.
Okay,
Catherine.
so yes, thank you. Okay, so we've got, it won't rise because we don't have any yeast. I hope you can see.
Of course, yes.
Yes. Now, I just made the recipe for 2. This actually will make for roti. So what you could do, you can actually use your spatula to actually chop them, because you shouldn't be using your knife. So I'm just gonna chop it into 4, and I'm gonna quickly roll them. Just roll them into a ball. When I'm doing it, because it doesn't take long for this to cook, I just preheat my my pan as well. So you're using medium-high heat.
And I've noticed that the roti has gotten a lot smoother.
Yes, it has gotten a lot smoother.
Yeah.
So what you do, just roll them. So you roll them thin. It should be between, I think, about 15 centimeters to maybe 17 or 18.
Are you able to do the flip?
No. I usually turn them just to make it run, but no, I'm not that clever yet. So you can, there's actually, if you've got Thermomix, like Chrissy was saying, you can actually, there's actually like, if you need to spread it out to a certain diameter, it actually has the guide. So that's basically thin. So that's just the thinness that I quite like.
What would you eat this with, Catherine? And could you keep this in the freezer if you do have extras?
So yes, basically I would use it for, if you're making like curry, you can use that with curry or even butter chicken. I usually have my butter chicken without rice. I like it, I like the bread to actually be able to serve.
So this is a great dairy-free version, because a lot of Indian food breads, like the naan bread, does have yogurt if you are dairy intolerant. So this is a great alternative if you want to go the curry way and still have your roti. So and without the dairy, this is great. Yeah.
So you can, I don't know if you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it start to have like bubbles popping up.
Ooh.
And then it should puff up a bit more.
I can see it lifting up.
Yes.
It's puffing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's puffing up on one side of
and it's quite hot. You might want to bring down the heat.
Yeah, actually, it's
okay. Looks authentic, that's for sure.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, you can sort of like see that was cracked, because usually you can actually see it puffed up, but that one's
yeah, it looks beautiful.
That's basically it. That's easy. And then you can actually once it's cooked, what you could do is actually brush it with melted butter or melted ghee.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Cool. Thank you so much, Catherine.
That's okay.
We're moving on now to Margaret, who's going to show us the olive bread rolls. Hey, Margaret.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
We're good. What
Hi,
are you going to
Margaret.
show us today?
I'm baking the olive bread rolls. It's on my cookie dough. It's very, very quick and very, very simple. So I'll show you how we do it. Okay, so we need to bake our tray. So I've got our tray. Okay, so we need 400 grams of bread flour. I use the special white flour. So we need 400. Very, very simple and very, very quick. Okay. Next, we need 250 grams of water. We need the dry yeast. I use the dry yeast, which has the bread improver all in one. So it's ready to go. Olive oil, 25 grams. Then we need some salt. I use the sea salt. And then we need to mix. Speed 3 for 1 minute. I use the olives that are already pickled. So we've got 50 grams in here. While that's mixing, I'll show you my finished product. These are my bread rolls. So I'll just make little mini ones. But sometimes I just make a whole olive loaf for the kids. And they could just put it in the toaster and warm it up.
Wonderful.
What was that, sorry?
No, I was just saying that it was wonderful. Carry on, please. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's yeah, it's very quick and very simple. They're very, very basic. They're nice with some cheese. You can add some different things in there. You can add some feta sometimes, some chives, some parsley, some garlic, some feta, whatever you like. Okay, so now we need our olives. And now it's going to need it. It takes up to 4 minutes to do this. So we'll let that go for 4 minutes.
So what else could we put in besides the olives? Could we swap them out? Rosemary.
Yeah, you can put different chives. You can put garlic. You can do even feta cheese or halloumi cheese or any cheese, tasty cheese. Sometimes you can even put, what else could we put? Green olives if you don't like the
Black
The
ones,
black-
yeah.
olives.
Sun-dried tomatoes is beautiful in that as well.
Sun-dried tomatoes, yes.
Yeah, awesome. And what were you going to tell us earlier? You were showing us your thermoserver, Margaret.
Yeah, I sometimes proof it in my thermoserver in the mat
Yeah,
server. So I'll proof it in there.
fabulous.
But sometimes I
Wonderful.
bread rolls ready to go and I'll just leave them on here and fold them. And I'll let them proof up. These ones, for example, yesterday I cheated. I actually put them in my muffin.
Oh, nice. I do that too.
Turned out perfect.
It's a great idea, yeah.
They rise so quick. So with this new yeast and the bread improver, I find that all my breads are just amazing. I can't remember the last time we've actually bought bread from the shop, and it literally costs, I think, no more than $2 for the whole. This was half of it. My kids finished them off before I could even say, "Don't touch them."
Well,
So,
that's
yeah.
a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for showing
Thank
us the olive bread rolls. And we're going to cross over now to Sharon, who's going to show us the focaccia.
Thank you.
Fine.
Hi guys, hello. Wait for the spotlight to come on. Thank
There
you.
it is.
So I'm going to show you, I'm Sharon, and I'm going to show you the focaccia today. Super quick and easy, and I like to make it when I'm going to someone's house for dinner, now that we can do that again. And I think it looks impressive while doing very little, and that's what I'm all about. So I'm going to show you today what I do and how I jazz it up a little bit as well, because I like to make it look a little bit more fancy. So I've got in Thermomix, I've got some water and I've got some yeast. And I have warmed it up to 37 degrees. This recipe is on Cookie Dough, and I'll show you how I pimp it out in a minute. So I've got the olive oil, which we're just adding a tablespoon of olive oil. And then we're going next, and we're adding 500 grams of baker flour. Let's hope that my measurements were correct before. I usually just free pour into it and it measures it out. Super easy. And then it's going to ask for some salt. And with focaccia, I tend to add salt to the top as well, so I don't go too overboard with the salt here. And I actually love using smoked salt to add a bit more of a sort of smoky flavour too. Okay, and then it's going to need, oh no, it's going to mix it for 20 seconds. And then it's going to knead it, and it kneads for 2 minutes, and this is the bit that I like to do other stuff. Get other stuff ready and stack the dishwasher and do other stuff that I don't have to, you know, be kneading with my hands. But I just keep an eye on it, as the other lady said as well. You don't want to walk away from it when it's kneading. Okay, so we're going to knead now. So this is the cookie dough recipe, and there is, you put it in the oven after this to let it to rise. And I'm kind of a little bit relaxed about the rising times. So I can walk away or go and do something, take the kids to sport and let it rise for a little bit longer than suggested. It doesn't have to be the exact half an hour, exact hour. My oven actually has, which I didn't know about, which I'm really happy that I found, it actually has a dough proving function, which I really like. And there's different ways you can top it. So you can top it with caramelized onion that you can do in the Thermomix. It does a really great caramelized onion. And also you can top it with your favorite herbs, tomatoes, little baby tomatoes. There's a gluten-free recipe on Cookie Dough as well, which I really like. But what I've been doing lately that seems to have good impact is you can actually just scatter meatballs on there and then lay the focaccia on top of it. And so then turn it upside down when it's cooked, and you've actually got little individual pieces of bread with meatballs, which my kids really like. Or you can wrap up in baking powder, baking paper, a little whole wheel of brie cheese, and pop that on the baking tray, and then lay your focaccia out on top. So the cheese is in the center, and then when it's baked, you literally just cut the excess baking paper off, and everyone can break a bit of focaccia off and dip it into the melted cheese, which I think makes it look really, really fancy. And so I've actually got one. It's kneading now. It's got 26 seconds left to go. But through the magic of Zoom, I've actually got one that's already done. So I can show you that if you like.
Sharon, there was a question in the chat by Maria asking you where you could get your smoked salt from.
My butcher actually sells smoked salt. It's a I'll show you the brand actually. It's a Red Murray brand, I think.
And I'll just interject here quickly. I actually saw some, because I do Woolies online shopping, and they actually sell the Olsen smoked salt in my local Woolies. Mm.
But you can smoke it yourself. Smoking, you can smoke it in the oven. It's just smoke. But I think it gives a really cool, unique flavour. So that's now all mixed up, as you can see. Super easy. And what I'll do is, like you guys have seen, I'll pop it out onto the Thermomix, wrap it up and let it prove. But while I've got you guys here, I'm going to show you
Gorgeous.
how airy that is. And because I'm all about cooking without preservatives, super easy. This is like no effort at all. It's about as technical as it gets. And it's nice and fluffy and airy, and my kids will come down shortly and just annihilate it.
Devoured.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sharon.
Thanks,
And
Sharon.
that's a beautiful idea with the cheese as well. How awesome
Yes.
is that, especially as we're coming up to summer entertaining, and now that we can get out and start mingling with our friends and family again. And we're crossing over to Evie now, who's making the banana bread for us. Evie, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you,
Loud
we can
and
see
clear.
you. Hi.
I hope my internet doesn't drop out. Fingers crossed. So
We'll
I'm
be
making
good.
everybody's favorite banana bread. If you haven't tried the Thermomix banana bread recipe, you're sorely missing out, because it's actually better than any store-bought banana bread I've ever tried in my entire life. Sorry, Woolies, but their one is not the best. This one is amazing. So I'm just going to go through step by step how we do this. I've already greased my bread tin. So this is just a regular bread tin that I bought from Woolies, giving them a proper shout out. I've already turned my oven on. Thank goodness for the Thermomix reminding me to actually turn my oven on. I know in the past I usually forget that step, but I'm already sorted. I've put in my bananas. Now, if you like your banana bread to be super sweet, make sure they're super ripe. I usually buy a whole crap load of bananas at the beginning of the week. And then by the end of the week, if my kids haven't eaten them, bonus points, because then I get to make banana bread. So happy either way, really. Now, bananas are in. I'm going to put in the measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. And this might be a little bit noisy, but it's going to mash the bananas in 5 seconds. Amazing. And I only discovered this week that you can actually change the sound on your machine to make a different noise when it stops. And I put the guitar version because, I don't know, it's a lot more calming to me. So my mashed bananas look amazing like this. Back when I used to make this by hand the normal way, we don't like the normal way. I used to mash them with a fork, and they'd still come out really clumpy, and it didn't turn out very nice. So did everyone see that? Anyone in the chat? Questions?
No, if you notice that the banana was really nice and bright.
Yes.
They're not bashed up. That's the best part.
What is that?
It's beautifully creamy.
Thank you, Tina. Okay, now I am going to the next step, which is to add unsalted butter. I didn't have butter a few weeks ago, and I only had regular, regular butter with salt in it. So I just didn't add salt in later on down the track when it asks you to add salt, and it still turned out perfectly fine. Caster sugar. Now, if anyone has any issues adding caster sugar, you can use other sugar alternatives like vanilla, coconut sugar, brown sugar, or monk fruit sweetener, which is also fantastic to use. Caster sugar in. Now we're going to blend that all together. And that's going to take about 20 seconds. So yeah, after this, we're going to chuck in some flour, some salt. I've already pre-prepared everything in here just to make it a little bit quicker. And my beautiful eggs, which you can see. Now, has anyone actually made any butter with the Thermomix? Hands up if you've made butter. Yes, I have not, but I am going to very soon. And you can actually use the buttermilk from the butter in this recipe, but we'll get to that shortly. So I'm going to scrape down the sides. Now I've actually got this recipe saved onto my saved recipes. As my Wi-Fi is currently not working, and it's working, so thank goodness. I hope I don't mess anything up. 2 eggs going in. Next, insert measuring cup. Now, this is probably one of the quickest and easiest and most effective recipes on planet Earth. Somebody has a question. Is it for me?
No, I think what are you
It was-
asking?
Yeah, you were asking people to put their hands up, and that's how we put our hands up on Zoom.
My memory is fantastic, as you can tell. I'm having a birthday, guys. All right, so plain flour, baking powder, salt, bicarb soda, everything's in here. Let's pop it in. Super quick, super easy, and the buttermilk. Buttermilk. So if anyone, I usually buy my buttermilk because, you know, sometimes I'm lazy and I don't like making things. And if you have heaps left over, you can make a whole bunch of different recipes with it on the Thermomix, such as the buttermilk scones. What was it? Oh, the baked pumpkin donuts. Has anyone made the baked pumpkin donuts? It's
No.
really weird, but they're actually the nicest tasting donuts I've ever eaten in my life. Now, if you put your hand up for this one, I promise I won't forget that you've put your hand up. Have you made those baked pumpkin donuts? And if you haven't, you have to try them.
They are amazing, yes. And especially when you make them in the rose gold muffin, not muffin, donut tins.
Has anyone used buttermilk with your chicken? Texan chicken drum. It's beautiful. Yeah. Awesome with chicken.
Pretty much done here. So I'm going to pour this into here, but I'm not going to do that on camera because I'm surely going to spill it everywhere and embarrass myself. But I have something to show you. I made one.
Yeah.
Check it out. I'm going to top it up and I'm going to eat it now. I'm really glad I didn't forget earlier and eat it before this. But here you go. Please make this recipe if you haven't. It's the best. You're going to love it. And thank you.
Thank you,
Evie. So do you know what I do with my banana bread? We love walnuts. So we actually add walnuts in ours. So there you go. Now I'm actually next, and I'm actually going to be presenting today the milk bread. So this is actually one that I make quite often at home. The kids do like it. I've already gone ahead and prepared the first step, which is, or the first step. It is the first step because where I just put in some sugar, some, what else was there? Some yeast, some milk, and just mix that together, brought it up to 37 degrees. So it's heated up. It's already showing me it's at 37 degrees at the moment. So the next step is to, add some flour, which I have here. So this is a really simple one, like most bread recipes, very straightforward, just your flour, your water, your yeast. This one doesn't have oil. I know some bread recipes do have like some oil or butter, but this is a milk bread, so it's got milk. So in goes our flour, which I have pre-weighed. There you go. And, whoops. Just pop that there. Oh, that was exact. And some salt, which I do have here, unless it's run away. Here it is here. Oh. So 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I've just got about a teaspoon there. Put as much as you like, that's fine. It is a milk bread, so it does have sugar in it, a little bit of sweetness. The recipe actually does ask for 1 to 60 grams, so it's up to you anyway to sweeten it how you like it. I've only put in 20 grams because I don't want it too sweet. And of course you could use, different sugars as well. Now that's going to need for 3 minutes. What I'm going to do is, of course, I made one earlier, but I'm going to show you when I actually do make the milk bread. Normally, you can actually make the milk bread however you want. This particular recipe actually does say 2 portions, and then set it aside to rise. But I normally do make mine in my floating, which you can get from a mix shop. And another thing that I do like doing.
Leah,
Yes.
you might need to speak towards the camera. We missed the important bit just now.
Oh, you missed the important bit. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Oh, good. You didn't miss too much. I was just saying that I like using the loaf tin. But you can, yes, it does. Kirsty.
Yes.
Like million people. So basically, I was saying the recipe actually asks you to plash the milk bread. So of course you can make it however you want. You can even make it into beautiful little buns if you like. Can you hear me okay now? Tina?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. So I have made one earlier. So this is what my milk bread looks like when it's been in the tin. And of course you can put the lid on it as well. When Margaret was showing hers earlier, she actually did have a slide. I just like mine to write. But of course, if you want it to be perfectly sort of, you know, looking like you can do that. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to tell you that these are actually in the mix shop many years ago, a few years ago, and they were out of stock for a while. It's actually a bread knife which has the little what is it?
Guide.
Thank
Like a
you
guide.
so much. And I am so excited that they're back in the mix shop because everyone was asking me. But I want to show you how you can actually use it. And my kids were never very fond of making bread, you know, how they like the store-bought stuff, even though we don't eat much. But this just cuts the most perfect slices of bread, as you can see here. And there we go. Show you. And you can actually adjust the thickness. And if you've got any kids or anyone that's fussy about, you know, homemade bread, get yourself one of these. They're at the mix shop, back in stock finally, which is awesome. What else was there? Making a mess in the kitchen. We have this month the mini that as a host reward. So if you do toasty cooking experience, we have the beautiful mini back, which is worth $2.99, and you can get it for $49 if someone does purchase. That purchase has been in mix. And now is a great time to purchase the Thermomix. Well, from the Wednesday the 20th at midday, we've got our bowl bundle that's happening, so you can actually purchase a Thermomix with an additional roll for only $29. So yeah, this is a host reward. And of course, we're going to have our bundle, which is coming up on Wednesday, which is a fabulous offer. The Cobalt, yes, it's only $49 as a host reward. Thank you, but it's worth $2.99. So it's very powerful. You probably didn't hear it, but anyway. My dough has finished, and I know that everyone's showed you their beautiful dough today and how to turn it out and just to, you know, swivel the bottom of the blade. I actually wanted to show today also a sourdough because it's a popular bread. A lot of people like to make it at home. And Tina, who's banning the chat today, she's actually made a beautiful video at home, you know, showing how. Tina, have you made a little video?
Oh, I've got some visitors coming into my room, so I was like, okay, can you excuse yourself?
The video only goes for a minute. Let's have a quick watch.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's just do that. Okay. All right.
You want me to fill in a minute?
Can you see my screen or my?
No, not yet.
Okay. Give me a
So sourdough bread is really easy, just as is any bread in the Thermomix. There's also a cheap sourdough on there if you'd like to have a go at making a sourdough bread. What else is there that's easy on there? Yeah, I think the cheap sourdough one is really good. You know, if you can get the mother, you can always get it from you know, the bread shops as well. Oh, here we go, Tina's.
Here we go. Thank you, guys. Technology and me.
This is the
Not good friends.
Sourdough recipe.
Yes, it is the everyday sourdough. So sourdough starter, just like Kirsty says, needs to rise. In this case, once it floats, it's ready to go. I love using it with a Thermomix. You can see it's so much smoother using a Thermomix to knead it for the first part. But like all sourdough, it takes time. So 3 rounds of these. half an hour intervals. And once it's done the 3 half-hour intervals, then you do the final one. And you will just want to release all the gases that has built up. So sometimes the process would take 7 to 9 hours. If it's winter time, you just have to watch with love. They're like your little babies to me. And indeed, it's very rewarding. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you so much, Tina. What an awesome little video. That's fabulous. Yeah, so if you haven't tried sourdough, I definitely recommend you make it, whether it's that everyday sourdough recipe, which is on Cookie-Do, or the cheap sourdough. There's quite a lot. There's actually a collection as well. Now, did we get through all the questions as well, Tina?
No, we have to put the polls out now.
We do. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
reminding me.
Okay, now I'm going to set up a poll. If everyone could just pop in, as you were so wonderfully quick with putting your hand up virtually. I'm launching the end of class poll, and let's see how quick we can respond. Would you like to book a cooking experience with your consultant? Now we can do it face to face. I think we've all gotten so used to Zoom because we don't have to travel anywhere, but now there's an option. And second question is, are you interested in learning more about being a Thermomix consultant? One of the reasons why I stepped in as a Thermomix consultant was because I knew I was going to learn so much more of the wonderful investment that I put myself to get. And I didn't buy it to cook. Believe it or not, when I got my Thermomix, I wasn't buying it to cook. And if you haven't got a Thermomix TM6, are you ready to buy? It's a great time now.
Tina, I think the poll hasn't launched properly.
Oh, sorry. Gee, I'm talking into space.
Don't go away, everybody, because we're going to do a quick whip around and have a look at all.
Oh, thanks a lot, Kirsty. I was looking at the poll and thinking everybody's not responding yet.
I don't think that's launched properly, Tina.
Oh, okay. Oh dear. Let's relaunch.
Co-host.
Thank you again. Are we good? Can someone tell me?
No, it's not looking like it. For some reason.
That's really okay.
Almost
May
admin access.
could Leah do
The
that?
poll's launched for me. I'm just watching,
Okay.
but it's all okay for me.
I'm actually
Okay,
going to just stop the recording and just say thank you. Hang on one second. Stop.
Shall I stop the recording?